they do shots and ask Angie where they're all headed. Angie says heading south. Brittany says they'll pass her house. And Mary says we can drop you off. That was really funny. Mary sometimes has these one-liners that are great. That was a good one.
I so super enjoyed it. The way she does it, sometimes when she says it like the exact same cadence as the person who said the first things, she's like, "Oh, we're going by my house. Oh, we can drop you off." Get it, Mary.
Low-key.
Welcome, friends, to Reality Test. What is reality testing? Something we all do every day when we check our subjective or personal emotions, thoughts, and so forth against objective or more fact-based reality. So here in Reality Test, we're going to be testing the castmate realities and the producer antics of our favorite reality TV shows against what we know as licensed psychologists about the reality off of our TVs. We hope you'll join us as we attempt to reality test. That's it. Thanks, y'all. Now check out our campy theme song.
Are you feeling stressed? Your head's all messed? Well, let's forget all the rest. Fuck it, we're blessed. Cause it's time to talk reality test. Come with us. Let's reality test.
Welcome to Reality Test. I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Dr. K. Feel free to check in and take a seat wherever you like. We're going to go somewhere totally different. We're going to go to nice, chilly, cold Salt Lake City for today and next week.
Yes, it's we're gonna spend some time with Lisa Barlow and the gang. That's I'm sure how she would love to be referred to in that. Angie K and the gang, Heather K and the gang. You know,
exactly. That's great. I like both of those orders. That sounds right to me. Yep, exactly. There's gonna be plenty of Lisa, but also plenty of Bronwyn and Angie to be had today. We're gonna go through our first 5 episodes. And then next time we'll go through the last 4 or something, whatever it is. I guess there's like 6 or so. No, what is it? Something like that. 8.
Yeah.
We have a total of 8, 9. So there'll be the last 4. Yeah, last 4 next time.
You will get episodes next time on this podcast.
There will be more episodes.
Yes.
Exactly.
More episodes coming down the pike.
Exactly that. And a brief disclaimer that we are therapists, but not your therapists. And although we'll be talking about mental health content, we have not met these folks. We're also not their therapists anyway, so we can't give them diagnoses or anything. We might talk about diagnoses that might be relevant or adjacent, but is not necessarily theirs without doing a full, in-depth psychological assessment. So we are also going to do our reality check segment first, which means we're going to share with you some psychological content, research science that we think is related in some way to previous episodes or shows we're watching, or just things we think are cool. So what did you have for our reality check today, dear Dr. Ray?
I was watching the Patriots game last night. My partner's family are all from Boston, so they are massive Patriots fans. So the narrative now is that the Patriots are back, and maybe they are. And the fans are getting excited. But anyway, I was listening. There's a new white quarterback. I forget his name, but he kind of looks like Tom Brady. Which is, I'm sure, perfect for the vibe of what the Patriots are trying to go for. But, I heard them describing him as, like, intelligent, blah, blah, blah. The way that sportscasters are so weird. They say such weird, useless shit. Like, it's just like a free association of their, like, internal schemas of men, which is kind of interesting, but and useful.
I saw the sneaky thing came up, too. So, like, sneaky, they call them sneaky if they're black, but strategic if they're white, saying from last week, too. There's implicit bias that comes in. No, that's your point, too. So there's implicit bias. Go for it.
Yeah. You're so right. It so ties to last week, the sneaky versus strategic thing. And apparently there's been quite a bit of research on this, including in, like, Sports Illustrated and just listening to commentators and all sorts of stuff. Most recently, I found an article from Like Lund 2022, and there were 3 categories that quarterbacks were described by: intelligence, athleticism, and personality. And it seems like white folks were much more likely to be rated or talked about as having intelligence as quarterbacks than people of color who are quarterbacks. So, unsurprising. I heard it last night. I heard him being called like a smart young man or something, and I was like, oh,
so
it's
gross.
right here. It's
What
so
was the
gross.
personality one? Is that more one race than the other, or how does that one work?
That's a good question. Through these specific concepts, we found that white quarterbacks, on average, received more positive specific concepts related to intelligence, athleticism, and personality compared to African American quarterbacks who received, less for intelligence, more for athleticism, more comments related to athleticism, and a little lower on personality. So athleticism was the highest for quarterbacks of color.
And yet white people got the most positive remarks in all three categories. How fucking gross is that?
Maybe a little less for athleticism, but in terms of intelligence and personality, I think higher. I'll send you the study. It's kind of weird how they reported the stats. I would need to look at them a little closer, but they're maybe using an effect size or something, but I'm not sure which effect size they're using.
Or I was thinking like what they mentioned about them versus what positively they mentioned. Like, so that like they could be mentioning athleticism more often for black men than they do for white men, but when they mention athleticism for white men, they mention more positive things than what they do for black. Like I could see both of those things being true at the same time. But,
yeah.
Because that feels like totally true. I feel like I've heard that as well. There's just such a different, like, yeah, I've seen them say a lot about black men too. Like, look at this, like, big boy, or like, they talk about like their size, or like, they don't do that about the white men.
Like good kid, American. Yeah. What they don't say that maybe anymore, but it's close enough. I don't know.
Yeah, like American treasure, or like, they'll be like his hometown hero, or some shit. Yeah, no, I don't like it. That's so gross. I love that though, because it is such an indication of that implicit bias being something that comes out when they're just like rigmaroling it, if you will. Like they're just like out there, as you were saying, like just sort of free associating. And so then that makes the implicit bias come out even more gross.
I know, not good. Don't love it. Don't like it. Yeah.
No positive comments about that here.
And ties very nicely, I would say, to your study last week. I wasn't even thinking about that, but when you said that, I was like, oh, duh, of course.
Dude, I actually free associated to you. Like when we were talking earlier, I didn't even think about it. And then just now I was free associating to you. And as it was coming out of my mouth, I was like, that's also what you're about to talk about. I'm so sorry. I like literally took the thing. I didn't do it.
No.
I just was like,
I like the tie through. I like the golden thread of content.
I love it. I love because it is the like the whole point we're trying to make about the AI studies too. It's like the whole thing is that like this shit is real, and like you just saw it last night. So it's not even like it's just us talking about like, oh, because I remember when I was bringing up my study, I was like, I can see it, I can imagine them doing it. You just saw the thing, you know what I mean? So it's like it's very real, very much happening, and I appreciate that. Glad you brought that up. Also, another one being like just talking about athleticism or intellect is so gross, because that was the other piece that was like AI studies we're finding in general, not about athletes or not about commentators, that like we are seeing that when we talk about race, AI makes assumptions about intellect, and like that's so gross too. Makes sense. They're learning from commentators.
Yeah.
Know from all of us. Just kidding.
Yes.
We all do it.
Yes.
Commentators. It's not just you.
Commentators very overtly. I hadn't listened to a commentator in a minute, and I was like, wow, that's just so, it's just not subtle. I don't know.
And you know what? They're all fucking white men. Like, I was watching I think it was like a pre-game, whatever those fucking called, like preseason game, and there was a woman and a black man commentating, and I literally was like jaw to the floor. I said to my husband, I was like, what? It was like, is this a woman and a black man? And he was like, yeah, it is. I was like, why are these people not in the regular season? Because they're great. Like, they were both great commentators, and it made me think about the fact that they are all motherfucking white men. It's like, and then they're like celebrating Tony Romo and fucking Tom Brady. Everyone who's been like previous players is like the point, but they can have black previous players. Obviously, I wish they'd also have women, but by the way, the woman was actually a little bit better than the man was in that scenario too, and I was really proud of her. I was like, get it? She wasn't even a previous player, obviously, at least in that league. So, get him in there, I say. The fuck.
More, I would say people of color and women would be less likely to make those same errors. That's not what the study was on, but I intuitively feel that is true.
Right, it's like the dog whistle thing, like dog whistle politics, where like they're going to be more attuned to what is implicitly racist. And that's not to say that they're not susceptible to the same sort of implicit bias. We're not saying that, of course, but like it means that they're less likely to fall victim to it externally, explicitly, in public and so forth. Exactly. They'd be attuning to it. Or maybe they'd call themselves out if it happened or something. Or at least they'd respond to feedback when they get it, I can imagine.
Yeah, instead of doubling down. Unless you're Sydney Sweeney. That's a whole nother story. God, did you see that video of her this weekend?
No.
Oh my God. We'll talk about this
Okay.
next time. It's
Okay.
rich fodder, but yeah, her
I'm
whole
excited.
jeans ad, and then someone interviewed her about it, and she just like doubled down. It was like,
This past
wow,
weekend.
oh
my God.
you're just out here.
Months of getting feedback, and she just still doubled down.
It was interesting. It was very interesting.
Good. I'm excited. That's a little tidbit for next time. I won't even look it up at all. I'm excited to hear from your perspective. This has been exciting to hear. I'm sad also, of course, but okay. My study was a very simple one today, which is just that trauma is very common. Where trauma exposure, most people you meet every day have experienced a trauma. This is a study by Kessler and colleagues from 1995, so it's dated. It's probably more, I would say, today. And where around 60% of men have had trauma exposure, which is higher than women because of combat, where women have had around 50% of women have had trauma exposure. The thing that's important about that is that like 60, this doesn't mean they have PTSD. This means they've been exposed to trauma at all. And so some folks don't get PTSD as a result of being exposed to trauma. The thing that is interesting about the rates is that given that there are way more men in combat, that also means that percentage of 60% is very largely from men being in combat. So the fact that women are as high as 50% of exposure is really remarkable, because it does say so much about rape and sexual violence being a big part of why they're so high as exposure, incest, domestic violence, and so forth. So this is all to say, we talk a lot about trauma. We're both people who work a lot with folks with trauma, and so we often talk about it in the case of folks on the show too, and talking about like unresolved trauma, for example. We talked about that with the Golden Bachelor folks, and so it's something we're rather attuned to, and also something that is very much not the individual's fault if they develop symptoms in response to trauma exposure. So we try really hard to keep it away from victim blaming and so forth. I think it's important to think about it because we're also talking about how this very act of being on reality TV is kind of like a trauma. It changes their whole lives and is like an affront. And then think about paparazzi, like literally physically affronting them and so forth, and being on display for other people to give feedback, welcome or not, So I think we could also kind of apply it that way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So tell me your check-in today. How are you? What's on your heart and mind today?
What is on my heart and mind? I got to visit a couple friends of mine over the weekend in Chicago, and it was lovely. I had a great time seeing them. It's good to see peeps. It was just, I don't have much to say about it. Just I had a nice time. And I mean, here's what I'll say. Flights are so expensive right now. We had to get bumfuck early flights, and it was kind of a bummer. Like one of our flights was 5:30 a.m. and the next one was 9, which isn't as bad, but it's still earlier than I would like for my flights.
Right.
The 5:30 a.m. one. Sorry?
9 is still like 7 because you have to like be there and shit.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too early. And we are not we are noon on flight people. That is how I roll. That's how I travel. But the flights are so expensive right now. It's really, really a shame.
It's wild.
So yeah, we're actually driving my family's from Ohio. We're actually driving home for Thanksgiving because the flights I think were like $1,000 a person, and I'm like, I can't do it.
Oh God, that's awful.
I know. So it's bad flights right now, but great time in Chicago. So that was fun.
That's good. That's great. It was worth it. Were you going to say something about the 5 o'clock one too? Flight?
That was brutal because then we get to Chicago and it's an hour back. So then it was just like the longest day ever.
Truly.
Too much.
And it was daylight savings recently.
Yes, so I'm like, I guess we're undoing that. We'll figure it out someday, I guess. I don't know. But
no, it's brutal. Lost multiple hours recently. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that sounds dreadful. I'm also a noon on kind of flying person, and also sounds like not a flying person for now. Well, it's so expensive.
It is wild. It is wild how
it's really wild
how high flights are right now. But,
oh my God.
Where'd you go?
Oh, that's funny. Great. I'm so glad you had such a great time in Chicago. That's lovely. And I'm sorry, the flights were so insane, though. That sounds very unenviable. My check-in is, I think since we last met, there was Halloween, and there was nothing done about that. Both of our kids were out and about with their other people. Like, at one, my bonus son, our son, went to stay with his girlfriend on college campus, so they had like the fun college Halloween party marathon, which brought back memories. They all had really cute pictures and sent those, which were really cute. And then my bonus daughter sent these adorable. They were all three of them, her little baby, and she and her boyfriend dressed up with little clown outfits. It was so fucking cute. And the little baby's clown outfit is so cute. Couldn't stand it. So I realized this was my first year of Halloween of like vicariously living through our kids, because previously they were like still at home or doing other things that was more in our orbit. So oh, it was fun. It's kind of nice to not have to like worry about anything or go out. It was fucking cold again. So yeah, I guess
Yes.
it'll be my Halloween update.
Oh, fun. Oh, I bet the baby clown costume is so cute.
Oh my god, fuck yeah. I'll have to send it to you.
Yes,
That
please.
reminds me though, by the way, two things. One is that we are now going to have these videos only on Patreon. So if you're interested or waiting for the excerpt to come out on YouTube, wait no longer, because you won't find it there. Instead, you can go to our Patreon and become a member for $5 measly a month to then get access to our video episodes, as well as our backlog of episodes, audio episodes. And soon we'll be having ads, and when we have ads, you'll get the episodes without ads on there only if you subscribe through there. We're also going to have some free content on there at some point soon, and that is being worked on. So that was number one. Number two is, because this is now only available on Patreon, I'm going to tease listeners with one of the things I'm working on, which is, that like crystal art or whatever.
I love.
Isn't that pretty?
Oh my
I
God,
know,
Kate, or Dr. K, that's beautiful.
No, it's fine. It's not cool. It's coming out well. It's one of my favorite paintings of Van Gogh.
I love that. That is so pretty.
And very contemplative. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm enjoying it. So you'll just have to see it. You don't know which painting. I'm not saying when that, but you can come and see that on our video only on patreon.com/reality test. Or go to Patreon and put @reality test in the search bar. One or t'other.
You'll find us. We're right there.
Sure are. Purple and teal. So that brings us to our episodes. Our episode, singular at this moment. So let's get right over to Salt Lake, motherfucking city.
Wow. A lot going on in Salt Lake.
Truly, sir.
Truly, indeed. Ready to rock and roll. Lisa Barlow having a little humble moment, whatever's going on with her. When I was visiting my friend this weekend, she was like, Lisa runs that show. And I was like, you're not wrong.
No, she does. She definitely is like the one bringing content. Bringing the content.
Yes.
I also
and
find
unfortunately,
her upsetting.
Yeah, all the women still, I think, subconsciously like want her approval. It's kind of wild. It's just mean girl shit. I hate it, but she just, I don't know. I don't know what she's got going on for herself.
I think it's a slight shift. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know what episode are you on?
I'm on. Well, I did see her whole like dossier thing, and that was weird. I was like, this is diagnostic right now. I don't know what's going on for this woman, but yeah.
Truly. Yeah, that was a lot. Yeah, I think there's like a little bit of a shifting of the tide a little bit, like trying to take power back maybe for the other women or something. But I agree that most of the time when she's confronted, it's still like in pursuit of her liking them still, or again, which is definitely notable. I just don't, it's like when someone's withholding, right? That's just like how it is. She's not vulnerable with them in real life, so they don't get to see that part of her, which means if she's withholding, they want to impress her. It's like sort of the old, like, dad trope, of the withholding dad that kids want to impress. Even though the mom's like there every day and like working hard and vulnerable with them, So why don't we do it by episode? Do you want to take first, third, and fifth, and I'll do second and fourth?
That is perfect. Let's do it. Oh, I do.
So for our fans, I just want to let you know that we are also not covering every single scene. We're going to cover the all-cast scenes and scenes in which we had segments. We're going to do our 6 psychological segments, whereby we have things about psychology that we talk about related to these episodes. So things like we spot a socio-political moment, or we spotted therapy, and we will talk about them as we go. So, start us off. Episode 1, Dr. Ray.
Yes, so we started with an RV trip, which was interesting. I don't think there's ever been an RV trip on one of these shows before. I could be wrong about that. Angie and Mary are hosting this Class A ladies trip via Angie's RV. Whitney hires male strippers. I don't think I put it as one of my segments. Maybe
Yeah,
I think I
did.
forgot.
You did.
Oh,
You said something about
gotcha.
that we'd mention tomorrow.
Yeah, I was surprised that happened. I thought people might be talking about that the next day. That wasn't the coolest move on her part, given that they all kind of had this like pretty substantial trauma related to when Jen Shaw was arrested all those seasons ago. I didn't like it. I didn't think it was very nice. But yeah, I was surprised it didn't really get a lot of play. And poor Whitney, I think she's actually trying to like be more relevant at this. Like I think she's kind of, for whatever reason, like fading a little bit in the show. I don't know why.
Yeah, she doesn't have as much of a storyline, I feel like.
Yeah.
In her
And maybe
life,
it's
like her
trying
life
to make
isn't
one
as-
with her.
Exactly, in her real life, she doesn't have any. So yeah, exactly, she's trying to make one.
And then her business failing, her failure. I love how she's like my healing journey. She really gives her situations titles. They're kind of funny.
Yeah, cute. Yeah, I like that she's putting a face to that kind of a failure, because that happens to lots of people. And I appreciated the way that she sort of took back that storying or whatever. Well, anyway, we'll hear about it.
Yeah. They do shots and ask Angie where they're all headed. Angie says heading south. Brittany says they'll pass her house. And Mary says we can drop you off. That was really funny. Mary sometimes has these one-liners that are great. That was a good one.
It's so super enjoyed it. The way she does it, sometimes when she says it like the exact same cadence as the person who said the first thing, she's like, "Oh, we're going by my house. Oh, we can drop you off."
Just lovely. Yes. Brittany comes for Whitney because Whit says she doubts Lisa's working, which then Whitney disclosed her failure with her business and how that's been so hard. Britt says Lisa's like a sister to me, and Heather supports Whitney.
Brittany's coming for her hard and fast. Whitney's like, "Yo, fuck off. Like, failed as a business. I get it." And Brittany doesn't even get it still. She's just still coming hard because all she's thinking about is Lisa. And so, like, Heather's like, "Yo, back up." Like, even though obviously Heather likes Lisa too, but...
Brittany's a bit, I think she just misses things sometimes, a lot of the time, with her announcements. It's kind of hilarious, but...
So funny. No, it's so funny and, like, alarming. And I definitely agree she misses things. It's like social cues are a little bit loosey-goosey for her. I think it's too funny.
I do feel bad for her children.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Woof. Woof. Find out they're headed to a campsite. They're not happy at all. And then Angie says, I haven't seen it in real life, just on the website. No. They discuss Lisa not being there. Heather says it's her way of saying, I'm not as into you guys as you are into me, since they could have scheduled the trip around her schedule. Whitney says there's accusations flying around in the press. Heather says it's all bullshit. She's just kind of blindly defending her friend. Bronwyn said there are multiple issues and some are not done yet. Angie says to Bronwyn, you seem like there's something you don't want to say. And Bronwyn brings up that Lisa's go-to is that they're all liars, but that she doesn't share about her own life. There have been 5 lawsuits against Lisa and her husband and his company. And then she says, if you haven't seen it, you're playing dumb. So kind of calls out Heather in a way. And Heather, I think, rightly says she doesn't think it's good that they're talking about it when Lisa's not there to defend herself, which I liked that. I thought that was great.
Me too. And I also think it was interesting she didn't, like, deny the fact that, like, if she says she doesn't know about it, she's playing dumb or whatever. She doesn't really be like, what do you mean? I definitely didn't actually know it. She just sort of, like, pretends like she didn't know it. So I think she's like, because what she's doing is also fair. Like, her doing that is in pursuit of not talking about her when she's not there, which is a good thing to be pursuing, like you said.
Yes.
Fabulous.
And Lisa sure addresses it head on later. And also not really, though, at the same time.
Yeah, it's a lot. So then, part 2 of the RV trip, there's this, like, I guess it was technically at the end of the first episode, but, like, the bizarre, Blair Witch Project thing, which just was too much. And actually, Actually, I think that really should be my, if producers or psychologists, like that just was like not necessary. It was silly, goofy. I think something more meaningful could have been done there. Just like making it, I don't know. For me, it just was like, and maybe that's not a psychologist thing anyway. It's just like better producing. I don't know. I didn't need it. They do end up sitting around the fire pit in the morning, though, and processing their roles as mothers and wanting the kids to leave the nest or stay in it. And this is something that I brought up in the awards episode, so I'll fly through this. But basically, the point is that Heather starts by saying she feels guilty that she's feeling ready for her kids to leave because they remind her of wanting to be perfect for them, and it feels hard for her. It's like a lot of work to try to be the mom, etc. So Bronwyn sort of like responds like, "Oh, that's funny. I'm the opposite because I can't wait for Gwen to move back in with me, or like I made sure Gwen stayed with me by having her boyfriend move in." Da da da. Heather's sort of like, "Okay, but the way you're saying that sounds like you're saying I don't love my kids." And Bronwyn's reaction to that, like I brought up in the awards episode, my point in that is like she's just not good at like understanding when she has potentially accidentally, I'm not even sure it is, aggressive, relationally aggressive statements like that. Like that was so clearly like, oh, really? My problem is I love him too much. Like it's sort of like not good. And then even when Heather points it out, very astutely, very calmly, very on the nose, very in the moment, just like absolute gold star behavior. The way she did that, very, very good. But then still Bronwyn doesn't recover. So she, said something bizarre like, "I'm saying, why do you have to see it that way? I'm saying, however you do it is perfect." That's not at all what you said, ma'am. And then Mary starts to talk about Robert Jr., says that he has highs and lows. And Robert Sr. said, "We can't babysit you. You have the tools and you know what you need to do." So he made it a pact to take it one day at a time. Let him figure it out, and that's how I deal with it. And I take my hats off. This is really liked. I take my hats off to any mom that can raise 3 kids by themselves. You should feel a sense of accomplishment. This is to Heather, because I couldn't have done it without Robert Sr. So Mary ends up turning her conversation about Robert Jr., which is its own very unique and really intense situation, to being able to like compliment Heather, which is something, Bronwyn could take notes. And then that gets us to the end of the RV trip. He seems to get stuck on the ice, and then they push it successfully with Mary on board, which, gave me flashbacks to when she was on the RV. Wait, I guess that was no, it was the Sprinter van. When she was on the Sprinter van with the McDonald's bag when they were all, like, doing an event. It was, like, a few seasons ago. But same thing. She stays on board. She's not coming out. Too funny. She's like,
living
"No,
her life."
No, I won't be. Yeah, I will not be doing that. No, it's so good. Heather and Lisa are at lunch, and Heather just goes ahead and blabs about what happened there. I will say this was not her finest moments, because I felt like she was really sensationalizing it and making it out to seem like she was Lisa's only hero. She was like, "You were part of the trip from jump. A lot went down." She tells Lisa she needs to squash the rumors. Lisa says, "My life is so different from all of you," and this I really liked about Heather's reaction, because she's like, "Okay, that right there, like that is the issue. Is when you say things like that, you're like elite. It's elitist." She tells us that too in the testimonial. It's right on. Like that is the problem. She like does these things to elevate herself. Lisa says, "Did anyone stand up for me? Meredith, was Meredith silent?" Heather says, "Yeah." I don't agree with that. Meredith did say one thing at least, but she wasn't silent. She wasn't saying a lot, but she also wasn't silent. And then Heather, also, she seems to build herself up as a hero. Also, my husband reminded me, what about Brittany? Like Brittany went so hard in the paint
Yeah.
for Lisa, and never once did Heather bring her up. She did never say Brittany was Brittany was all over
That's
it, because
not,
Brittany was more vocal than Heather. Brittany was the most vocal.
Yeah, that's true. That's a little shady on it. It's still that like need to please Lisa thing. That's just not that cute. I don't know.
No, it just seemed like she's her number one bestie. So Lisa says, "Let's dissect everybody's life, because if you're going to talk about mine, you're opening the door for me to talk about yours." And Heather says, "I think you can clear it." Like, so in other words, she first says to her, "I think you can clear it up." Lisa says, "Well, if they're talking about me, I'm going to talk about them." And Heather repeats, "I think you can clear it up." Meaning, like, don't talk about everyone else. Like, just clear the fucking thing up. So the point is that Lisa, in her own mind, can't clear it up. So instead, she's focused on retaliation. Like, instead, what everyone's talking about is probably true, and she can't clear it up. So she's going to focus on getting back at Bronwyn or getting back at whomever, which we later find out in next week's episode. We'll talk about it because it's a later episode that comes back around. But clearly, she's saying, I will be retaliating right here," even as there's like, "Do you need to?" So
You could just not.
yeah, exactly. Well, not doing that, you could just clear it the fuck up. We can see Mary and Robert Jr. together. He says he's at a standstill, not in the dark place, but it's still there. She says, "Well, you have to walk out of it. You have to retrain your mindset." You have to walk out of it was a little dismissive. It's not that easy to do, but I did think mostly what she talked about was right the fucking spot on. He said, "I just didn't expect it to be like this. It's scary. You have to change who you are as a person. So I'm so used to doing something as a ritual, and then you just come back home to where you used to do the ritual, and you're not doing it anymore. I don't hang out with anyone anymore. Now that I'm isolating, I'm getting that stimuli from unhealthy sources like food, drugs," which was like, isn't that like not not doing the thing that you want, but he meant weed, and she sort of checked with him about that, and he says, well, I'm still beating myself up about it because I'm not completely off and perfect. I would challenge to say that there might be more than that happening, which is fine too, and there's such thing as slips, not necessarily relapses, but slips that happen, and sometimes that's what helps you stay on the track. So and that's what Mary goes on to say, which is sometimes you fall but you get back up. Love that. Great message, Mary. She says to us in testimonial something that is absolutely stunning to me, so I made a segment about it, which is she says she's recognizing now that she was a helicopter parent and that he wanted to impress her, so he wouldn't tell her the truth. So now she's backed off of that and shown him that she trusts him. I was just like jaw to floor. Exactly, Mary. That's exactly what was wrong with what was happening in this last season. I did a whole informational video about it because she was so well intentioned, but there were certain things that she was doing, like flaunting his A student status and the fact that he's so smart, and being like, well, telling him to his face, my happiness is because of you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be here. So putting him to this like really unfair expectations, and also making it out so he can't tell you the truth. So I think when she said these things, and I even said the helicopter parent thing, when she said these things, I was like, amazing. So I wondered if maybe she's seen a therapist since then, or at minimum she's been able to process what she saw when she watched back the previous seasons. So I really appreciated that. I think that the way she spoke about him in these episodes was night and day different, infinitely better on the specific counts like those. We're going to come back to one more example of this, but in this instance, I'm saying that I think that it's about spotted therapy. Potential.
Absolutely. Some self-awareness there.
Right. Heather and Bronwyn at lunch, I'm just going to scoot through this really quickly. It's just that they cleared it up, basically. But Bronwyn, she tries to. Bronwyn's like, well, I just don't get it. Like, every time I try to say something, I end up putting my foot in my mouth. Like, Bronwyn, what? Even after, like, reflecting back on this, you couldn't think about what was wrong about what you said? And she, again, made up what she said. She did sort of say it was a little bit better. It was a little better than the first time, but it still wasn't what she needed to say, which is just like, I'm not even there yet. You are there, and I wish I could get to the place where I'd be okay letting them launch. And either way, every parent could do whatever they want. And they could have their own feelings about their kids. It doesn't mean anything about how much they love them. So that's what I wished happened, but it did not. It ends up with both of them. By the way, side note about Lisa, Heather asked Bronwyn about Bronwyn's relationship with Lisa. Bronwyn brings up Lisa's nasty tweets that happened post-reunion in New York, and Heather calls that retaliation, meaning that also Bronwyn did something to Lisa. So that's sort of like interesting thing. And then they say to each other, I want to be friends. So they cheers. How that goes. So last scene in this episode here is the all-cast party, which is at the Who's Who, Amy's house. And Lisa and John silently ride into the party. Lisa and Meredith are talking. Lisa says that Heather told her about the trip and who was a good friend and who wasn't, kind of in a pointed way, meaning like you weren't, but she never really comes back to that or like fully fleshes it out. And then she says to Meredith, was there anything else I needed to know? And I think they should say what they said because it was not nice. It was not nice. Brittany, I think it was Meredith saying that. Brittany jumps in and she goes, I didn't mean to interrupt. She ends up being a part of the conversation. Still never gets across the fact that she was the only one who was sort of defending her, but that is the truth. She shares that Angie compared Lisa to Jen. And interestingly, Lisa goes, that is a horrible, horrible accusation. That's so psycho. Problematic language, 100%. But also, yeah, it's a terrible comparison to make. But by the way, so did Lisa about Bronwyn in a tweet, compare Jen to Bronwyn. So it's sort of like, glass house thing.
Yeah. Very much a glass house thing. Ugh, the lack of self-awareness sometimes.
Total lack of self-awareness is ghastly. So Lisa confronts Angie and says, what do you want to tell me? Angie says, well, Bronwyn brought in information. Before she could finish that, she kind of repeated that because Lisa kept interrupting. Before she could fully finish the sentence, Lisa says to Angie, Bronwyn did not go to law school, and I doubt she ever even went to college. Bronwyn jumps in, sort of like, fuck off, doesn't say that though. She actually was very, very contained. Lisa says, you're dismissed to Bronwyn. I'm not upset with you. I don't like you. You're dishonest, gout dick sucker. Really?
That was wild. That was
really, Lisa? The fuck
wild thing to say.
The fuck? And Bronwyn keeps very cool-headed in this. She brings in content from the civil case, staying calm, discrediting Lisa's personal attacks, and returning with shade associated only with the court documents instead of like personal attacks. They're kind of personal, right? But they're not like about her as a person. And so Lisa says, go to college. You should go to school. Bronwyn says, you should go to work and pay off your court cases. And then Lisa says, she's disgusting. She is such a pig. I can't even feel that coming out of my mouth like breathlessly because I don't like that. That is so uncomfortable to say out loud. I cannot believe she said it. Like, that is such a fucking gross insult, like, and so upsetting. I hate it. So that was my original, like, what producers should do if they were psychologists, is like something with that. Like, I don't know if it's like having them talk about that so that we can say like that is not okay. Like, do not use that word about people. Don't make it personal. Make it about what they do or say. Don't make it about who they are as a person. And
Right.
Lisa just like went way off the rails in this argument. I was again really impressed with Bronwyn for sort of like keeping it together, but just like that in particular, that insult, I just was like, what the fuck is coming out of your mouth? Like, gosh darn. And I, again,
The
like
gout
I can
dick
like,
sucker was
yeah,
so like wild, it was almost funny, but it's
yeah,
same thing. Like it's just so
yeah,
outlandish. It's like, what
yeah,
the hell are you even
yeah,
saying? But
yeah,
it's still awful. Like
yeah.
I
It
don't
is
even
still
know where
awful.
she's going with that. Is she saying that she's married to an old person? Is that
Right,
the
right.
implication that old people get gout? It's also
Mm-hmm.
ageist, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
to that point. It's just
Mm-hmm.
weird.
It is
Um,
ageist. It is rude. And then she sort of says like, you know, like you're sucking dick for clothes. She says brings that up too. Ron was like, that was a joke I made a while ago. Like that's different. When I make that joke, it's not okay for you to use it. But it was something about saying she's big in particular that was just like so fucked up because it's also like sizeist and has like a really dark history in terms of seeing women as animals because they're not as smart and they're whatever it might be. Like even though by the way pigs are very smart, but that was not the original intent of that word. And I think it's just really upsetting for her to use that against because really, you know, what we could also say this is lateral relational aggression. And so that could also be something we've mentioned before because you brought that up very nicely like a month or so ago about lateral aggression among women or two people in a marginalized group, period, at all. But, you know, sort of like taking each other down for reduced resources. And I don't think she's like fighting for men's attention in this case, but it still is just really gross to come after another woman with that language when that's something that men use to keep women down.
Absolutely. Yeah, it sucks. It completely unnecessary. Something about the way Lisa's showing up this season, and we'll get to this in this episode too, is just it's a little off the walls. It's a little different. I don't think she is doing very well. I don't know. I hope she's okay. She seems a little different. Like the rails are off in some way or something. I don't know.
Exactly. And she did cry, like, in her testimonial, I think, for the first time. Like, I saw it
Wow.
during one episode, and I saw her crying, and I was like, I feel like I've never seen this before. Like, it just didn't feel, like, familiar at all. Like, I don't think we actually have seen her fully cry. Like, maybe tear up, but I don't even think that, frankly. So I think she is in a very much more vulnerable place, and because she doesn't know how to be vulnerable with her friends, she isn't processing it right, and she doesn't know how to communicate with John either. So I don't know. Like, one of her fights with John was, like, and we won't go over it, so I'll just say it now, is that she said to him, like, I'm not always this tough. Like, just because I seem tough doesn't mean I'm tough on the inside, which means that she's not being her full self with him either, her vulnerable self, which is scary. So where is she doing it? She needs therapy for that.
She does. She truly does. Next we have Lisa's party. She talks about the big celebrities who came to the event she was at, like Steve Carell, I think Ben Affleck, and I don't know. She's just, it's just weird. Am I sounding too braggy? But it's true. I've done amazing things. She just, Heather gave her very specific, pointed, behaviorally anchored feedback, and I don't think she's getting it.
Nope.
Lisa tells Amy about her plans, including the skeet shooting. Just Lisa's friends has something planned for lunch. I have a segment here, but I actually am going to bring it up in a little bit because I think more the party is actually what I'm wanting to focus on. Bronwyn and Todd have a lunch. Was this their first lunch or second lunch? Because there was one lunch where I felt like he was trying to be on his best behavior, and then the other one, he was just, it's like same dismissive sort of Todd behavior.
This was the first one. Yeah.
Okay.
This was the first one. I think this was his best behavior one because I think the second one was like they were getting ice cream maybe or something, and I think that was the one where he was not on his best behavior.
Yeah. He still wasn't great in this one.
No.
It's like C+ behavior, but it was definitely like an improvement, which I think is what Bronwyn was trying to convey.
Exactly.
So Bronwyn says to us, the biggest takeaway from New York was Todd acknowledges what others are saying about how he speaks to her. To be honest, Todd's probably made more changes in New York than I have. I've seen a meme about people doing PR for their boyfriends. And this feels like that, like women doing PR for their annoying boyfriends.
Yeah, totally.
But She tells Todd about visiting her dad who needs professional care. Dad has Alzheimer's for 10 years. Mom had an emergency brain surgery, but her dad needed 24-hour care, so he moved into a memory care facility. And her mom is staying with her indefinitely. Seems tough. Todd stepped up financially, which is cool. That seems like a way that he does show care. And so, that's nice that he did that. Bronwyn says, "Look at me. I know you didn't want to do it, and it means a lot to me." And that was nice. Bronwyn talks about her to Meredith, cuts to her sharing about being a caretaker for both of her parents and her kid and her boyfriend.
Right there.
Oh,
quick.
yes.
For her kid and her kid's boyfriend. And so I was thinking, there were two things here, but I put them into one, which was that if I were her therapist. So, no, I did not. I put this under things that people could know more about. So separately, we'll come back to the therapist part. So things that people could know more about. I thought that Bronwyn was talking about here being a sandwich generation person where she takes care of her parents and also her kids and her kid's boyfriend. So that's like a term I think is helpful for people to know, being part of a sandwich generation where you're squished between two different groups that you're caregiving for. And then I wanted to mention too that at some point she brings up, I'll just say it now because it doesn't matter, but she says at one point she doesn't want to be like her mom. And so in talking about being a part of the same generation, taking care of her mom, but also taking care of her kid, at the same time, she doesn't want to be like her mom. She says, "I'm rigid, but I don't want to be." And so I wanted to mention that we are all the way we are due to our families of origin, whether we are the opposite or the same. So it's not bad to say that. She says it's bad to say that I don't want to be like her. It's not bad to say that. And still, technically, it's a gift your mother gave you by way of showing you something you do not want or will not be doing, trying not to do. So I think it's very fair to say out loud, "I don't want this thing," because it's the more you're aware of it and identify it, the more you'll be able to react against it rather than repeating it. We will repeat things if we're not aware of them. So
we absolutely will. Yes. Yes, I like that reframe. It in some ways can be a gift when we learn how we don't want to be. Absolutely.
Totally.
So next we cut to, there's one more thing here. Where did I go? Shoot, come back. Then Bronwyn, "It bothers me when people don't like me." And then Todd says, "Lots of people don't like you." Woof. And then Bronwyn says, "Who doesn't?" And Todd says, "Your Facebook." So he has Facebook, which is kind of silly.
But also it's like, of course they don't like them on Facebook. If everyone's a dick on these social media, you know what I mean? Like everyone comments like awful things on social media. So that does not mean people don't like Bronwyn, It means that people who don't know her are rude, but they're like that to everybody.
Yes. She does seem relatively well-liked, though I think she puts her foot in her mouth sometimes and just, like, as we saw with Heather, and, goes off the rails. Bronwyn about Lisa, how do I get to the point where she can loudly dislike me and it doesn't bother me? Crazy. And Todd says, "I don't think you do."
Yeah. And I put a segment there because I feel like that is true. It's okay to not be okay with people not liking you. I think that's a very normal human thing. So this is where I did, like, if it were my client. So Bronwyn, regarding Lisa, like, how do I get to the point where it's not driving me crazy that she doesn't like me? I think that there's two different ways to understand it. Like, one is that it's a very human motherfucking thing to be annoyed by someone not liking you. Because also in this way, she feels misunderstood. So she feels misunderstood by Lisa, and then on top of that, disliked. And it's sort of like, what the fuck? And I like Lisa. I want to be good with Lisa. So this feels extra shitty. We don't like it even if we don't want to be friends with them. It's like still uncomfy. But especially if you want to be friends with them, it's more painful. And it's easy to ruminate on it, which brings me to the second way of understanding it, which is that folks who are anxiously attached have a particularly hard time, or who are OCD is the other version, have a particularly hard time because it's super uncomfortable and then it gets ruminated on and sort of like repeated in our psyches. And so in that case, it would be even harder for Bronwyn if either of those things are relevant to her scenario. So, which by the way, I could see too. So I think that there's, and even if it's not like anxious attachment, but it's like notes of anxious, or whatever. it would just make it even more discomforting. Nope. Uncomfortable. So I think that Todd's right. I don't think you do get over it, and that's okay. I think I hope that's the subtext of what he's saying. I'm not sure it is. Like, I think he could also be sort of saying, like, I don't see you getting over it, but, like, I hope it's that you don't get over it because it's hard to get over for any of us. Because, frankly, obviously, Todd doesn't want people to not like him either. Like, clearly he cares about what he looks like. You know,
clearly he's very image focused because he wouldn't be trying to be on. He would just say, "I'm not going to be on your show" if he didn't want this to improve for him.
Exactly. He wants his image to be improved, and he also wants to. I think like he's very like trying to be manly. You know, he has like this image of like being like like gruff. He like he wants this image to be like he's a tough dude, and it's sort of like get over it. I don't know, just be like warm and lovely with her, and I think that's what we'd all like to see more than you being like a gruff dude. Yeah. So. I think he's very image focused too. I agree. I think just in general, even if you're securely attached, it's normal to worry about people liking or disliking you because we've been taught as humans who are born to be in relationship that being in relationship is how we survive. And so threats to relational safety are read in our brains as threats to physical safety because they are indeed attached to each other, intricately tied. So it is actually more normal to be worried about it and to think someone doesn't like you than it is in the reverse. I think a lot of times when people are sort of like, I'm cool, like, I don't care, like, whatever, it's like deep down they care, you know, it's like, because you can't help it. It's like a biological difference. There's a neurological system going down that reads the same way as if you were in physical danger. So, normal. Y'all are normal. Y'all probably feel similarly because it's normal. It's a human thing.
Very, very human. The most human thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would talk about that with Bronwyn and do relational work with her. Yeah. Sorry.
Maybe accidentally Todd really hit the nail on the head on something.
Exactly. Yep.
Are we on episode 4 now, or?
No, it's Bronwyn and her mom, and it looks like you have a segment on it.
Oh, yes. This continues actually with the next one. I'm so sorry I put in these things. But Bronwyn talking to her mom, so throwing dad's stuff away when he's not there to help decide didn't feel great. Bronwyn tells us about the Alzheimer's and empathizing with her mother. I don't feel like dad remembers the adult me. Like, that's got to be really hard. He thinks you are Gwen, so he's worried you won't finish college. He's stuck at the time Braun doesn't feel proud of from her life when she had her daughter, which is so sad. Her mom says she wouldn't have gotten there without Todd's support. Actually, no, I do keep this one. She says she wants her mom's approval, love, pride, and wishes she didn't because she's not getting it. It's kind of similar to the Lisa Barlow thing, right? There's kind of a parallel process here that she does seem aware of. So I'm like, maybe Bronwyn's had some therapy. I could totally see her having therapy. I don't think she's gotten into in her therapy when she misses people or is like lacking empathy or self-awareness. But I do think she's probably done a lot of work on her like perhaps anxious attachment stuff. So I appreciated that self-awareness.
Me too. I love that. Yeah, that's great. I totally agree. The way that she'll talk about her mom and so forth does feel very processed. I love it. So episode 4 continues from the end of Lisa's dismissed party, which was an all-cast party. We kind of skipped over the beginning of it because who the fuck cares? Honestly, the whole thing is like Lisa brought these, boards out after her skeet shooting thing with just her friends. She brought everyone else over for lunch, and they all thought they were like going to a lunch together, but it turned out she'd already had this party with everyone else earlier in the day. And she has these boards up all around the room that show like stupid court documents that doesn't say like dismissed, which like means nothing at all. It's like the randomest thing in the world.
What did Mary say? She was like, the font's blurry. Like they weren't. That detail was also funny to me. Just that they weren't so well done posters. But
she was like, it's zoomed in too much, and it's hard to see it. And then I think Brahma might have been the one that was like, okay, so what we learned today is that you can use Photoshop. Like, or whatever. That's all I learned. I didn't learn anything from the court documents. Just that you can use Photoshop and put a dismiss sign on it. So Lisa starts coming for Auntie Kay, which is weird. So like this is during the lunch. It's weird. She does her whole like rigmarole. Everyone's like watching her talk about the things, and then they're just over it immediately. She ends up coming for Auntie Kay's salons and franchises. Franchising is a model I'm proud of. Auntie says. She says you lie to insult me and deflect, make someone else a target. You do French fries, I do franchise. Just apparently the big mic drop moment. I did think it was kind of funny. She said, I invested in your son's line, by the way. I supported you and your family. You do nothing to help me, nothing to help my market, nothing to promote it. And yet I help you and you help another product instead of me. But then you leave his line on my shelf and it's sea level. Promote your own son's line. It doesn't belong on my shelf. It belongs in Walmart. And then you promote another line instead of his, in other words. Heather says, I would like a word to Lisa. I think you were unfairly attacked on the camping trip. I understand you need to defend yourself, but for you to go low and count her businesses about Angie, you don't need to both go so low. I want to be able to talk to you honestly. This is horrible. Heather says, I'm not friends with you because you're legal filing sponsorship of tequila. I'm friends because I have a great time with you, and this has not been a great time, as we'd all agree. You're a fearless, strong person, and when you're on someone's side, they feel invincible, and when you're against someone, they feel vulnerable.
I have a
Yes,
segment.
yes, please.
Yes. I just wanted to say this is something you mentioned, I think, in our last awards episode, that Heather seems like more grounded this season. And it's kind of nice to see her, I mean, imperfectly, as mentioned, with like the Lisa, I was your hero, like, love me, Lisa, like kind of vibe. She's doing a really good job being interpersonal and in the moment and saying, this is what's happening right now. You both don't need to do this. And this is awful. Can we not? Like, I think that's really grounded interpersonal feedback that I think the group benefits from. Because I think what's been missing the last couple seasons is Heather's maybe felt less grounded in herself. She was kind of the audience surrogate, and that's kind of gone away. And I like seeing her being a little more like... grounded is the word I keep returning to. It's just, it's nice.
I love it. Great point. She's making process comments, which I really like. Yeah, great point. I love it. And then Lisa says, well, I feel vulnerable too. I grew up differently, so it looks different to you guys, but I'm very vulnerable. Oh my God, here we are again with that comment about how it's so different for you. Lisa says, Angie, I love you hard, and when they do something to you, it hurts way harder. Interrupted herself to say vulnerable. I'm being very vulnerable, like saying sort of like I'm humble, like she's like, I'm vulnerable. I'm being vulnerable. She shouldn't just say it. It should just be happening or not. Yeah. Angie says I apologize and I do care too. They do end on an okay note. Then Lisa says to Heather, I love you, Heather. You're extremely hard on me when you need to be. I want everyone to succeed because we all do. Random. Lisa says to Bronwyn, I can say I don't like you, but there are things I see in you and acknowledge in you, even if you think I don't see it. Meaningless. A meaningless thing to say. It's absolutely nothing at all. Bronwyn says, I do not take pride in hearing about this. I just want you to stop talking about me. I know I hurt you, and I know you hurt me, and when you're ready to say that, we can move forward. Which I thought was great, because she's saying, like, that was not what I needed to hear. What you just said was not, like, actually repairing in any way. And then she says, she cheers to everyone loving and hurting hard. What about Whitney? Not a word to Whitney. It's like, okay, guess she doesn't care about how she hurt Whitney or anything there. I'm pretty sure Whitney ends up leaving, right? Yeah, Whitney ends up leaving the room, just sort of like, fuck you. Bummer. Lisa and Bronwyn meet separately. As Bronwyn said, like, when you're ready to admit it, we can talk about it. But until then, fuck the nonsense. And they had a nice little tete-a-tete, I think. They met and talked about, like, one thing I did like that Bronwyn said was, there are things that are private personal. Without talking one-on-one, there won't be resolution, and we owe it to each other to figure it out. I really likes that. You know what? That might have even been Lisa, because then I say that Bronwyn said what's been going on between us has been on purpose hurtful. You said you had spoken to his mother, and she told you I had faked a miscarriage, and you knew what saying that on the show would do. Lisa was like, my intentions were never that. It doesn't matter. That was the impact, so you can apologize. But yeah, I think it was Lisa who said we owe it to each other to figure it out, and that's why I was like, I actually like this, because I surprised myself with liking something Lisa said. I thought that was good. Bronwyn also said, I feel like we're in a race to the bottom. It's not a good feeling. And Lisa says, I feel like the biggest trigger to me is John's name. Anything nasty about him. But that's the thing, is that Bronwyn was like, yo, I said that maybe John is stressed, and that's not the same thing as that saying I suck dick for clothes. Lisa brings up, like, well, you just made that joke earlier. I was just repeating what you said. And Bronwyn's like, right, like years ago, it's different when I say it than it is for you to say, which is totally true. But she ends up saying, I've said things to be hurtful, and I'm sorry. I will not be doing that going forward. I'd like to be neutral. Make it easy for everyone else to be friends with both of us. No kids, no husbands. They start talking about their kids to each other. This is where I have a little fall apart. So Bronwyn tells her that Bronwyn's mom said, I wish we could be grandparents before we were parents. I'm much softer and more open-minded with Gwen. Bronwyn tells us to the camera, I'm rigid and I'm trying not to be because I know it doesn't serve me and because I don't want to be like my mom was. Is that awful to say? So that's where my follow-up is on that part that we talked about earlier. All right. Mary and the cousin. Now we're talking to Mary and her cousin, who are going through the church because it's being reopened. Mary talks about being 100% closer to Robert Jr. and how it's even more painful because she knows when he's fallen off, which I thought was appreciated by me and probably others. It's a great point, and it's sad, and it's also good because he does fall off and he comes back on. It's going to be how it goes. They say that on average, every addict, or including alcoholics, have relapses 7 times minimum. That's the average in their lifetime. So I'm sure it's different these days too. Probably worse, honestly. So she said, I'm excited to come back to church. It would help anyone. That's what helped me. But she also says, and this is really important to me, Mary says, he's got a good heart. He's smart. She says that about Robert Jr. I was like, yes, Mary, he's smart. Not he's an A+ student. Why isn't he doing everything perfectly? She just says, he's smart. He's got a good heart. Perfect. Not too much pressure. Loved it. I thought that was a great indication. She was processing and doing better at talking about her son. You know what? I don't really even care about the rest of the stuff. Oh, do you have anything? No, I do.
I don't.
I'll fast forward a little bit. Here she basically talks about her mom dying, and she talks about, like, she was obeying her grandma and that her mom was pissed. We learned that in an earlier season as well. The cousin said that her mom wanted it her way, but she couldn't get it. And then Mary says, well, it's full circle now because she's gone. I don't know how I feel about it. It hurts, but it's also a chapter that's closed. It was a storm battle I've been in for all those years. She put articles in the paper about me, lies about us. It was always something. I wondered if that was her saying, like, so all that shit about me, extorting my family was really my mom trying to put that in the newspaper. But, like, I don't really think so, because it wasn't even her cousin who came out and said that he felt like this very guy, I feel like, which is also probably why he's in this scene, is to be like, look, it wasn't him. Like, look, he's fine. Everything's fine.
We're so good.
Yeah, exactly. And I think to see here, it felt a little bit like image management. That's what the scene felt like, which was a little bit unnecessary for me. And this was the other version of the psychologist, that they were producers, that's actually producer psychologist stuff, which is that, like, we heard nothing about her mom dying until just now. And it sounds very complex, and I would have liked hearing more about it. And also from Mary, like, right away, first episode. And then the other thing is, if this is what happened, why the fuck weren't we hearing about that right away? Like, why are we now learning that maybe her mom was the one putting all that in the papers? So
it's a little convenient. I feel like producers are, they don't want to scare Mary off, so they're very easy on her. I think because she's one to just walk, and they know she is good TV, so she's kind of got him right where she wants him, I guess, because I think they would go harder on someone else, perhaps. I should say we're about out at an hour. Do we think we could?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to rush through or stop at 4? Why don't we finish 4? And then we'll do 5.
Well, I think we've got another page and a half. I think.
What I was going to do is skip the Whit and Britt. I guess is that not me or that's me. So I can just skip that. And then the Ron and Buzzy part, I was going to mostly make it to where you were with the patterns. I don't know. This Mary and Angie at tea. No, we could take that out. No. Right. I just think stopping mid-episode is hard. Right.
Yeah. Let's do that, and then we'll.
Just 2 scenes left. Yeah, 2 scenes.
Perfect.
Okay. So Whit and Britt meet or talk and basically repair after the RV trip, whatever the fuck that's about. The main point is that Whit spends her time being like, yo, why are you still with Jared? He's a fucking asshole. Even though you broke off the engagement, you're still being with him. And she also says, why the fuck aren't you spending more time with your daughters? Why aren't you putting them first? She said, no offense, but your daughter should come first, even as an adult. You could use a break. It's been messy. And if that's what Olivia needs, it should be a no-brainer, Brittany. It's your daughter. You should feel instinctually about it, which I totally fucking agree with. And I think it speaks a lot to Whitney reflecting on her own trauma, because that was what she went through. She was Olivia in her own situation with her dad. And Britt says she does feel it, meaning the instinct to put her daughters first. Okay. She waits until she hears about it from a fucking intuitive healer, but okay.
Yep.
This is just sad. And it's also the sort of thing about, we are what our family origin, we live out our traumas in different ways. I put this as a socio-political moment, though, because the whole reason that no one's talking about now, they talked about it a season ago, but no one's talking about it now, is that this is because of Mormonism. Brittany is putting Jared first because Mormonism teaches you to put your husband before your kids. And so she said to us, I thought if I got a good husband, that would help me with my kids. And so I put that first. And no one's talking about that again. She didn't say anything about that to her daughter. Part of it is Mormonism, and that's an important contextual factor. So, socio-political.
Excellent. Sure. Yes.
Then,
I realized I forgot to say if I was in therapy with Lisa, I would really want to explore why she why she made the decision she did around the party, her small select group and the larger group, why she felt the need to do all those dismiss signs and pictures of her and John on a yacht. I would love to hear more about her motivations, and my hope is that my curiosity would foster some sort of self-reflection, though I'm not sure. Like, maybe I'd get in there just a little bit, because that was so ridiculous and outlandish and bizarre. So sorry, I forgot to go back to that earlier, but
I'm
that
so glad you
was
did. Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, and I think you're so right that the only way you're getting through is just by asking questions in a curious, like, Columbo way, and seeing if she can connect dots about, like, as she's saying it, how ridiculous it sounds. I love it.
Wild.
And then just the fucking wildest. The wildest. And no self-reflection about it. You're so right.
No.
So Bronwyn and Mom, or Muzzy, this is the last scene that we're going to cover from this episode, and basically it's about, like, Bronwyn talking about parenting styles and saying, like, you have your style of tough love, I have my style with Gwen that's much more forgiving and sort of flexible, like, and her mom's like, I don't think it works. She was like, I don't think your way worked. The one story I wanted to just raise up was that she talked about when she was pregnant, and so was her sister, that they went to Gap or something, Baby Gap, and that the woman working there saw Muzzy buying a onesie and was like, oh, is that for her, meaning Bronwyn, who was pregnant? And she was like, no. That's all she said. And Bronwyn said, she means my sister. It's for my sister. And the woman, because she said it's for my granddaughter, she's like, oh, you're having a girl. She's like, no, she means my sister. So she goes, so you're buying some for both? And Muzzy just says no. And that was it. I was like, the actual fuck. That does sound super traumatizing and sad.
Oh my God.
So Bronwyn says, you were the one who made it miserable when she was pregnant and had her kid. And Muzzy says, but do you know how miserable I was trying to hide it?
That was so wild to me that she said that on TV. Like, this is the best version of herself on TV, trying to present the most fair and honest version of herself she could. I felt so bad for Bronwyn. Yeah. I felt horribly for Bronwyn. It was socio-political, I think, thinking about people who have kids very young, and the shame when you have a really conservative family and how awful that could be. And I think also the Mormonism plays in here in how Muzzy has been taught to think about this. But it was pretty atrocious. It told me everything I needed to know about their relationship. Not that we can, distill people down to one interaction, but I was like, wow, this is pretty gnarly and pretty callous. It kind of broke my heart for Bronwyn. And then the guilt that she still feels about her mother and how unsure she is. I felt so bad for her.
Exactly. No, and it really speaks to, like, either anxious attachment or even disorganized attachment. I mean, that's pretty traumatizing as far as parenting goes as a style. But at minimum, it's inconsistent, because I think there were moments where Muzzy was warm with her, not kind, but warmer. And so then she probably felt like, oh, I'm there. And then other times where she was absolutely hurtful and shaming. So that inconsistent parenting would at minimum make anxious attachment happen for Bronwyn. And she says at the end, she's sort of like, you didn't, like, you fucking whatever the fuck. Mom, she's like, I try to give my mom grace for the fact she never raised a kid who wasn't doing what she wanted her to do. And Muzzy was like, well, especially the last one, meaning Bronwyn. Muzzy says, you're doing your best. Just because I don't tell you, oh, you're so wonderful, you're so amazing, doesn't mean I don't think you are. I'm just busy being careful that you don't think you're so wonderful that you are too good. And I was like, what? Like, so I think, first of all, I was like, oh, good. Like, she's telling her she does think she's great. Like, she's doing her best. She's wonderful. Blah, blah. But, like, this image of being like, I don't want you to get too big of yourself, like, get too big of a head, is, like, the worst thing. You are the mother. That is your job. You need to build her up, like, because the world will tear her down in every which way. You need to be the one that's building her up, regardless, unconditionally, literally unconditionally. And it reminds me of people that say, like, I was going to say that you're pretty, but I bet you get that all the time. Which implies, like, I shouldn't say it because you get it so often that you have a big head otherwise, It's sort of like, no, but if everyone thinks that you hear it all the time, then no one will tell them that, And so it's sort of like same thing here. It's like, if you are one of many worrying about her having a big head, that means no one's telling her she's amazing. And so someone's going to fucking do it. And it should definitely be Mom. And it was upsetting and sad.
Very well said. Yes. So what a rich first 4 episodes. We will be covering yacht life next week, which yachts are just another through line in this season.
Yes,
wild.
That was so fun. Yeah, that was so fun. And we are also on Patreon, as we said at the beginning, $5 measly a month, and patreon.com/realitytest. At realitytest, use the @ symbol if you're going to look it up in the search bar on the site, patreon.com. We're also on Instagram and also Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at Reality Test Pod. It's actually at Reality Test Podcast for Instagram, or you can go to our individual ones at Dr. Ray Pods and at Dr. K Pods. On TikTok, I'm also at dr.reality.tv. And then you'll also find us on email at realitycheckpodding@gmail.com.
Indeed, and don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and tell all your friends. Anything you can do helps us keep doing this thing that we love.
And hi, friends who came because you were told by a friend, tell your friends. And we'll see you all next session. Bye.
Let's reality test.